Hey, good morning, afternoon, evening, and I hope you guys know about daylight savings. It's the goofiest thing in the United States where we we change our clocks around. We never know why, but that apparently is coming to a screeching halt. We hope, and in the meantime, we got to put up with it. So, hey, thank you guys for joining us, and hey, Jeff, good to see you there all the way from Pleasanton, California. It's about, I don't know, 2 hours north of me. And as you guys join, please give us a shout out where you are. We always love to see you in the world and get the whole globe there and start seeing our friends from India and South America. And oh, Jared is in the green room. I'm sorry, Jared. I gotta get you out of there. Let's. There we go. Now you should be able to talk.
Hello.
Yeah, there you are.
The
Okay,
green room
Jared.
and the green day.
And it is Green Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you who are Irish or not even Irish. I am part Irish. And I'm from the Mackenzie clan, but then the other part of that clan came from Ireland to Scotland, the Garretts. So I'm part of both Mackenzie and Garretts. And we are honoring St. Patrick's Day. We're going to have some green photographs here in a minute. So let's get this party started. I'm Marc Silber, and I'm a photographer in Carmel, California. And I want to just let you know that our show is brought to you by our good friends at Bay Photo Lab. Look, 20% off on wood products. These are kind of cool, you guys. You could see these boxes. You could get a box made with photographs in it or on it. You can also get 15% off on metal prints. Those can be, I have a few of those around. They're actually pretty neat. And as always, you will get 25% off on your first order. So if you've ever listened to anything I've said, you'll know that I want you guys to be making prints. And Bay Photo Lab is a great place to get that done. They are just so spot on with customer service. Their quality is exceptional, and many, many, many top photographers use them, including Jeff Ozier, who's on the call right now, and Scott Kelby, Bambi Cantrell, our good friend Bob Holmes, and Marc Silber, to name just a few. So definitely, you should be thinking about getting prints made, and you want to go over to Bay Photo Lab. Okay. So shout out to some of other guys who've joined us from Loom Graphic from Prescott, Arizona, and JPT 76 from Kansas City, and Gear from Norway. Wow. So happy St. Patrick's Day to you guys, and we're going to go ahead and get started with our first photo from St. Patrick's Day. And so
Yeah,
what's the
and
story
speaking
here?
of Jeff, this is one of Jeff's photos. So Jeff submitted two nice green photos for us, which, by the way, if you want to submit your photos, we're taking the green and Irish and clover themed ones first. So if you want to submit some, you can do that at AYP Club. Link in the description. And here's the first one of the two green ones he sent us.
Interesting how it's like a Z, I'm not really sure if it is a Z shape, but it probably isn't because normally you don't plant trees at an angle like that, but just because of the perspective. And I'm curious how you got this shot and where you got it, because you're up high. Or are you is this a drone shot? Are you on a structure of some sort? It's in Ireland, okay. And so that's awesome. You get bonus
Extra
points
nice.
for having a green shot in Ireland. And it's interesting how these cows are scattered all over the place on the right hand side of the frame, and then we have just lush green grass from a train. Okay, interesting.
Ooh.
So it's kind of an elevated view. Yeah, it's an interesting shot. I mean, as far as a critique on it, it would serve as what we call a transitional shot. You've heard Dan Milner talk about that. Would fit into part of a story. It's probably not a standalone shot, but like if you were shooting your trip in Ireland, let's say, then you're looking out the train window, it would certainly serve as a transitional shot. There is one. It's interesting. There's one little punctuation point. The black cow, sort of in the right there. There's your punctuation point, and it for me pulls my eye right over there. All right, let's see what else we got.
All right, our next one is also another green one from Jeff, and here it is.
Awesome. That's very cool. Okay, so dewdrops, micro, macro photography here. And the depth of field control is really cool because you really have just that one blade of grass in focus. Yeah, everything else, other than that one above it, everything else is virtually out of focus. The one diagonal one is also out of focus. It's not sharp. So the only thing in focus are those two blades of grass. Yep. And their drops of dew. A little bit on the, it's interesting. Look at how shallow that depth of field is because the one that's in front of it going diagonally is in focus where it meets the same plane. If you, I wish I could do the pointing. But that one in the foreground, yeah, right there, yeah. You were just there. Just in front of the big blade of grass, yeah, that one. So notice how it's in focus only at that plane that matches the one behind it, and the rest of it's virtually out of focus. So that's a cool use of your depth of field, and it's an interesting photograph. All right, Jeff, thank you. And who else?
All right, this one is a photo from Eduardo. It is an older one, but this is the Cliffs of Moher in Ireland.
Okay, so there's your bonus of you're not green, but you're in Ireland. And I do remember this photograph. I really like it. You've got this leading line going down the coast. Yes, kind of a... It's an interesting, really, I think that would classify as an S-curve line because you can see it's sort of, S-curves are basically anything where you're making something that doesn't have to be an exact S shape, but this actually is, if you look at it, there's a series of S-curves there. Yep. And there's something about these. People have asked me, well, Mark, you wrote about these compositional tools. Why do they work? And we don't really know necessarily. I don't know. And I don't know that anybody knows. Why does that work? Because it's interesting to your eye. That's the best description I can give you. Why does a high dynamic range work? Because it draws it out. But really at the end of the day, it's because it's more interesting. And art is that way. Are you going to drill down into every piece of art and come away with some super analytical scientific explanation? Probably not. Because it doesn't work that way. Aesthetics are mostly a matter of opinion. I mean, there are some tools, of course, that we use with aesthetics, but at the end of the day, it comes down to, do you like it or not? And you've seen different artists who've broken the rules. There were established rules, they broke them, and all of a sudden they created a new aesthetic appeal. Andy Warhol comes to mind. He took ordinary, mundane things like soup cans and turned them into art. And now, would that have been art at the time of Leonardo da Vinci? Would he have done that? No. His art was something quite different. But Andy Warhol broke the convention that you don't take ordinary objects, repeat them 32 times on a canvas, and have that be interesting. So there you go. But an S-curve does draw your eye. I mean, we can kind of analyze it and go, yeah, what it does is it draws your eye from the bottom of the image up to the top. And that's a pleasant way of having your your eye come through. Now, I just noticed something, Jared, if you can zero in on it. The first curve, there's a little S, there's an S, yeah, right down there. Go to the right, whoop, 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 right, right. What am I looking at? There's something in the water there, right? Do you see that?
I think some rocks or
I want to say a surfer, but I doubt it. Yeah, do you see right there? Go above it. A
yeah, I
little
think there's
farther.
some rock.
Right there. What is that? To me, to my eye, it looks like somebody's surfing there, but I doubt it. It's just something coming out of the water. That would be really interesting. There you get a huge bonus on that one. But there is a small punctuation point. And I love the black and white. Okay.
All right, we're moving a little further away, but we got some photos with some green in them. This is from Kuran, who, if you remember last week, had the beautiful dragonfly photo. And so this one is of a sparrow, male sparrow, with a Fujifilm XH1 with a 100 to 400 millimeter lens, taken at 1/2000th of a second.
Whoa.
F5 ISO 800. The specific millimeters it was at was 243 millimeters.
Wow. Okay. Super fast. What did you say? 1/2000th.
Yep, 1/2000th of a second.
And it's interesting because we have, a little blur there, but that's from your depth of field. And the bird itself, the body of the bird, the fuselage of the bird, completely still. And I love the fact that we have the wings in motion. And that's really cool. And of course, that shallow depth of field takes everything in the background and blurs it out. That's a brilliant photograph. I love it. And the wingspan basically filling the whole frame. You've got, you've got these curves, which are very interesting. Yeah, the whole curvature of the wing. Isn't that amazing? Just look at the beauty of that bird. So you've done a great job at capturing it. And even its expression, like it's looking at something, yeah. Looking down on the ground at something hovering, or kind of looks like it's hovering to me. Anyway, my tiniest little critique on this would be take some of those brighter areas and darken them down a little bit, because they do, just to the right, not so much that, but right there and over to the left of the bird. Yeah, right there. I would just take those two areas, bring their exposure down, just because they do tend to pull my eye out like this, and I want it to just stay in the frame with the bird. So I would burn those edges, or those hotter spots. The one near the bird doesn't bother me at all, because that's where you want your eye to go anyway. So that actually works. Yeah, that works in your favor. But those ones on that peripheral, yeah, I would just, that's a very tiny little critique. Just burn those edges. And my dog, River, just came into the room here. River, do you want to say hi to the folks? What she does is she comes over to my trash can and pulls out bits of paper to go off and chew them. She's a 10.5-month-old puppy. She just disappeared. That's her favorite thing, and then leaves chewed up paper around. Thank you, River. Okay, thank you for this photograph. And who's next?
All right, our next one is from a new member, just joined. M said, not much of Shades of Green yet, but I am beginning the start of my career.
Okay,
so
good.
New photographer, new to the AYP club. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
And thanks for presenting this photograph. So, it's you've got basically a green, and then you've got these pine cones. Now here's the thing. You, as a photographer, you decide where you want to point your camera. And you're trying to tell a story. You're trying to create some interest. So you might think, you've got, it's interesting, but what would make it more interesting? You've got something that could draw your eye? Because right now when I look at this, there's no one focal point that I should be looking at. My eye just kind of goes around and I see, the three cones on one side and the one below it and the one over there. It's kind of like a story, but it's not telling me what to look at. And this is something you want to think about it like if you were telling somebody something. If you said, look, but you didn't say look at what? Look at what? Look at that one pine cone that I've gotten really close to and the other ones are blurred out. That could tell me you want me to see that one pine cone, or you want me to see a bird that landed on that pine cone. That's the subject. So you've got a background here, but it lacks a subject. And that's my critique, and I hope that helps you. Just think in terms of you're telling a story. What do you want to tell the person? Look at the tree? Well, there's a lot to look at there. What specifically on that tree do you want them to look at? And that's a really vital point in terms of using your camera to tell stories, which is really, at the end of the day, I believe what it's all about. So thank you. Beginning of your career, this is good advice. Go out. Next time you shoot, think about that. What story, you're visualizing something. If you haven't read my book, you should read it. You should get it. And Jared could tell you how to get it. But It's all about visualization. Like, what am I want my viewers to see here? And then you press the shutter. But thanks for joining us, and thanks for putting your work out to the world, because that's what it's all about. All right, we got time.
Keep submitting your photos to AYP.
Keep submitting your photos, absolutely. So we're going to be a little shorter today, but we got time for a few more here.
We've got our good friend Geir, who said that he's our good friend from Norway, and he had to look up St. Patrick's Day, but he's gotten to the spirit. He found a image that's got some green in it, and so this was taken with his Olympus OMD camera and a vintage lens. Interesting.
So here's my. I always just shoot it. I'm a straight shooter. I'm kind of wondering where I should focus my eye, because it's kind of nothing really in focus. So here's my point on this one. Either go to one extreme or the other. Put something in focus and have the rest of it be out of focus, or go like completely abstract and have it all be out of focus. You've got I believe those are tulips. They're out of focus. But this sort of leafy thing, it's almost in focus. So I would go, okay, I want the whole thing to be abstract, just an abstract kind of design almost. Go out, move your focus out. And you can do this in your post-processing. You can do it in Lightroom by putting a mask on it and just reduce your sharpness, reduce your clarity. You can do it in Photoshop. Try that out, because I think you're not going to be able to go back and refocus on that leafy area, but you could go to the other extreme, just let it all be out of focus. Do you see what I mean? It's just kind of go one way or the other, but in between, not so much. All right. Thanks for submitting and looking it up.
Here I thought we might do something just a little bit different. We have a new photographer, Efuru, who has been asking some really good questions, and I thought this would just spark an interesting discussion here for some new photographers, since I know we have a few new ones here. If I am still learning the basics of photography, do I start with portrait or landscape, or do I just generally not confine myself to anything?
That is a really excellent. I remember seeing that, and that's an excellent question. So here's my answer. You're a new photographer. You got to find out what you're really interested in shooting. Develop your voice. So I wouldn't put yourself in any kind of category until you've kind of figured that out. Here's the advice from Edward Weston. I'm going to combine two great photographers, Edward Weston and Edward Steichen, and they were both really great photographers. I'm going to combine their quotes together. So Edward Weston said, I just go out and I look for things that interest me, and that's what I photograph. Do that. Edward Steichen said, I find what essentially I'm paraphrasing, but what kind of brings up an emotion for me, what elicits a feeling. And so do that. Look for things that really interest you. And this is true in almost any art form. In story writing, in writing a story, you start with something that's of interest to you and you write about it. In photographing, it's the same thing. So just let yourself go. Find the things that really resonate for you, and you might be surprised. Maybe it's something you weren't even thinking of. Maybe you're going to become a wildlife photographer or sports photographer, portraiture, or a wedding photographer. It's something is going to resonate for you. And one of the reasons I wrote about in my book, Advancing Your Photography, I wrote about a bunch of different genres, is I wanted to expose people to some of the key tools of many different genres. Children's photography, still life photography. One of those may click for you and you go, wow, yeah, I love still life. That's my thing. And you start developing your voice around that. So there's my best advice. So let us know how that goes as you proceed away on your own personal road there.
Yeah, and definitely keep us updated on your progress.
Absolutely. That's a good idea, Jared. We should take up questions in these videos from
as
AYP.
we see them come up. And thank you to all the community members who have also been very helpful in answering with their own perspective on these questions. So we love to see it.
Absolutely.
Here, I think we got time for at least one more. I did want to bring up Gear's photo that he had originally submitted for the critique, because one thing, if you've been watching this for a while, you know Gear has very interesting techniques that he uses, a lot of old school stuff. So this is the birch on the embankment, Linhof color, Rodenstock, Apo Ronar, 360 millimeter. So this picture is exposed on a 4x5 Harman Direct positive paper at ISO 3. I used incident light metering.
Oh my goodness.
When developed in Paper Developer, it gives a positive mirror image of the subject. The paper has very limited dynamic range, and exposed correctly, it may give very interesting results. I love the process of taking pictures. For me, the intense focus in my work is what makes me forget the world and stress. The process has a therapeutic effect on my mind. I am a proud amateur photographer that wants to create photographic art through my visions.
Well, Gary, you just get absolute top kudos for the technology that you're employing, which for those of you who didn't follow all that, this is a lot of work. This is not like going out with your iPhone and going click.
No.
Gary is doing something pretty amazing. And, just employing this technology that has so many parts to it. It's not a simple process that you just described, and you're using it. You're using it to have fun as a photographer, and I love the fact that you're using it to reduce stress, because that, at the end of the day, is what we should all be doing with our photography. But I'm not even going to mention anything about it. Just the fact that you did this is just unbelievable. And if you notice some of the points of it, like the background, there's very shallow depth of field. That's all out of focus there. So you've got one plane, which is this tree trunk basically, that's in focus. But it's not just that, it's just how it's being exposed. I mean, ISO 3. Think about that, you guys. Just stop right there and imagine. I've never gone that low. The lowest ISO I ever shot with was 32, and you generally had to use a tripod, and I'm sure you did. So well done, Ger, and I love the fact that you're using this vintage technology and bringing it in today's world so that you scanned it and you're putting it into AYP Club. So listen, you guys, I want to thank you for joining us and contributing and being a part of the AYP community. If you haven't already joined, please do join the AYP Club and hang out there, because you're going to meet a lot of like-minded photographers who are all going in the same direction. We all want to help each other and learn photography. Something else I want you guys to do is to follow me on Instagram here. You can see my handle, because I'm doing a lot of stuff right now. We're posting reels 3 times a week and pretty much stuff every day. So if you want to catch up in between these shows, definitely be on Instagram. And I didn't mention before, but I want to remind you to subscribe and enable the bell so you don't miss any of our shows. And thanks for joining us. You can leave your comments as always. You can like and share these videos. We don't know what we're doing next week. It'll be a surprise. But in the meantime, remember to get out and capture your own images of life. Stay creative, you guys. See you soon. Thanks for joining us.